What's going on, y'all? What's going on? So, this is not part of the show, y'all. This is not part of Velvet Rope season 3. This is a bonus episode. I hit up my brother Victor, and I said, "Hey, let's do some reviews about Halloween Kills and the upcoming Scream movie since we both seen, Halloween Kills. So I'm gonna give my opinion. He's gonna get his, and we're just gonna talk about it. And we're gonna talk about American Horror Story, y'all, because I think they're in the second half of season 10, and we just gonna talk some shit. So I mean, but before we do that, how you been? How you been? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while, and yeah, it's been pretty good. I am happy to be here, and it's also going to be fun because we're doubling up. So not only will this be a part of AJ's Velvet Rope world, it's also going to be a part of Megasheen's world today as well. So we're kind of doubling up, switching universes, multiverses,
Ex-
Scarlet Witch, and all
Exactly.
as we do this.
Exactly.
So we're going to kind of, give
Exactly.
you two worlds today. But yeah, I am excited
Mhm.
to talk about these particular films because most people know I love horror and I love all that stuff that goes with horror, watching it, not watching it, but watching it, all you can think of, all the way from the 70s all the way up to now. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and it's good to see you and everything else. So yeah, it's
That's what's up. So, just doing a little maneuvering. Y'all know me. Y'all know me. I'm like so last minute with this stuff sometimes. I try to be perfected and I'm still not there yet. But um yeah, this is kind of cool, like a double feature. I'm on your show, you're on mine.
yeah.
And I'm glad to, be back, with Mega Sheen. I think the last time we reviewed what did we review?
It
I don't
was
even
Mortal
remember.
Kombat. Then we talked about Mortal Kombat. We talked about
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a
yeah.
while since that came out, but yeah, we talked about that. But now we're gonna. This is spooky season, so this is appropriate to have
Mm-hmm.
conversations, especially after the big Halloween, the second movie to the trilogy came out.
Right.
And for those of y'all who don't know, 2018 began the new trilogy of Halloween. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if y'all didn't know, this movie came out in 1978. So the first movie came out in 1978, I believe, so many years ago, 40 years ago. And it had about six or seven sequels. Not all of them are very equal. I just talked about how Halloween Resurrection was basically the worst. It was just garbage.
Agreed. Agreed.
Um, but how they had, but I'm very passionate about. I actually like three because three was kind of different in a lot of ways. Three could be many things now. Three could
But
actually be the American Horror Story the way they did it.
but but the thing with Season of the Witch was they said that's the only one that has nothing to do with Michael at all.
True.
No Michael, no Laurie, no Dr. Loomis. It's like totally just it could have been a spinoff of its own in a way.
Yeah, I think they were planning to do something like that. Like that was going to be one of the original ideas of a different type of Halloween time. I guess because they didn't do so well, they just kind of scrapped it. But looking back, I wish they would have kept going because that would have been kind of what we're used to now when we see American Horror Story and what have you. Or if
Exactly.
you watch, Slasher, that's another horror series.
Right. And speaking of Halloween, let's just dive right into the latest one. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen here, y'all. The latest Halloween, which, well, I'll give my opinion first. I'll go first. I can say I'm not a Michael Myers fan. I'm more of a Freddy fan. And when it comes to Michael Myers and um, Jason, like I didn't see I my first introduction to the Halloween series was H2O because that came out when I was like a preteen, and my cousin and I we watched it. and I've seen it a million times. It's one of my favorites in the whole franchise, because I just thought, well, we thought she had killed Michael because he chopped his head off. I thought that was like the best way to kill a killer. Um, and um, when I saw the first Halloween, I think I was in my early 20s. I sat down and watched it, and my mom was so happy I was finally watching the original Halloween. And I'm just like, this is boring. I'm like, this is boring as hell. And she just had to kept telling me, well, this is in the 70s, this was scary back then. I'm like, this is bullshit for it to be scary. He's not showing nobody killing nobody. But this Halloween, and I saw Halloween 2018. I went to the movies to see it. Again, I thought that was boring. But then when I saw they're coming out with Halloween Kills, I immediately got Peacock so I can watch it at home. I was supposed to be asleep because I had just got off work, but I stayed up those whole hour and 45 minutes, watched the movie. I thought the killings were amazing. They were on point. It was gruesome. The storyline, to me, you could tell it's a build up to the final one. You can tell it's a build up because we don't see Laurie interact with Michael pretty much at all. It's pretty much the town folk going crazy, like that video you posted with the,
Oh yeah.
the people. That's all it was. They were just going crazy, and um, I think um, scale of 1 to 10, Halloween Kills for me, I give it a 7.5.
Okay. Well, I I was disappointed with this because, and yes, I know it's a part of a trilogy, and sometimes second movies in a trilogy are a little they leave you hanging. It's supposed to be a
Mhm.
cliffhanger, but when we look at certain part twos of certain series, they were all sometimes very strong. Think about Friday 13th Part 2, very strong. We got introduced to Jason
Mhm.
as a killer, as an adult.
Mhm.
We got Scream 2 was very good because it kind of broke all of the rules. And if
Mhm.
y'all didn't know, the original version of Scream 2, if y'all remember Haley, the black character, she was supposed to be one of the killers.
Mm.
But because it leaked, they had to change everything. I think they brought
Yeah.
in the mother. So it
Yeah.
was supposed to be Haley. So we
And
look at the sequels, they were
and
supposed
we're
to.
gonna and we're gonna talk about how Jason kind of links to Scream in a way,
Yeah,
but only the real Scream fans know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
But y'all see that when we talk about that in a second. But I get what you mean though, because um, to me, with Halloween Resurrection, like you said, it was the worst. It was the worst in the entire series because they killed off Laurie, and then what I don't like about franchise movies is like they did with Terminator. They came out with all those Terminator movies, and then when Genesis came out, they said, "Oh, ignore everything from 3 and Salvation. Ignore those. Those have nothing to do with it." But it's like they already came out. We How does this intertwine with the storyline, with the timeline? And I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. They broke down the timeline of all the Halloween movies, and they
yeah,
have them like linked together. And you see, Season of the Witch is like linked to nothing.
yeah,
And um, what I loved about H2O was they gave the backstory on where Laurie has been all those years since Halloween 2, saying she faked her death, she changed her name, she has a kid, she became an alcoholic, she became pretty much a pill popper, and somehow she got this job in this school in the middle of nowhere in Northern California. But I think it showed that the message, I think one of the messages behind Halloween H2O was your past. You can never escape your past.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And I understand that people want to. I kind of call these movies like the multiverses of film stories. So now we can get different storylines. We've had one completely different storyline that was given to us by Rob Zombie. He did Halloween 1 and 2.
And he did
Uh,
a good job.
well, which I go back and forth with. I know some people don't like it. I do appreciate some of the things he was doing with it. Sometimes Rob does a little bit too much, and that's just how he does things. But I did
Mhm.
appreciate 2 to a degree. But jumping back to Halloween Kills, I just felt like it was too many things going on in the story
Mm.
to really follow through with it. And as I was saying, a lot of times you get stronger sequels. This one was kind of weirdness. To me, it kind of felt like it was sometimes when there's a Netflix series called Black Summer, and it's basically it's a zombie series, but it was a YouTube series, so it's pieced together, and you can tell that it's been pieced together. This felt like it was like a YouTube series pieced together. This piece that didn't really go together with it, and I just felt like it was just that weird mob situation. We really didn't need that, but I did like the fact that we got to see some of the other people involved. They brought in Tommy and they brought in Lindsay, even the nurse from the originals. Not
Even
Tommy.
though
Tommy.
Tommy, I was say, yeah,
Yeah.
Tommy's not the original Tommy,
The
but
other Tommy.
piggyback, not to cut you off, but yeah, they brought in Kyle Richards, who was Lindsay in the first one, and the nurse, Nurse Marion, and she still looks good, might I add. She still looks good. But you know what? And if y'all haven't seen the movie, y'all should have seen it by now. God damn it. It was in the movies and it was on Peacock. So this is a spoiler for y'all. Oh well. I love how they killed the nurse the same way she escaped him in the first one, which was so
Yeah.
cool. I thought that was such a great homage. But what made me like it didn't make me jump, but I had a lot of like I call them ooh moments. Like when you watch something, you're like, ooh, you didn't really expect it.
Mhm.
When he got the black dude through the eye, oh my god, that got me right there. I said, damn.
Yeah.
But you know what pissed me off though was they that final scene where they beat the shit out of Michael. He's on the ground, laying on the ground. You thinking, okay, somebody shoot his ass in the head or something, and they do that slow motion with the gun, and it's like, oh god, you already know what's coming next.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It was interesting because when they had the flashback scene about, and what I did appreciate was they kind of gave us a part two in this, like a part two of the original in this one, where they show what happened the
mhm,
night of, where they had to add a little bit more about the cop,
yeah,
and what his involvement with it. And I love how they put in Donald Pleasance when they did this whole Dr. Loomis part, when they did capture Michael. But
mhm,
the kills in this one were brutal, as you were saying, and how you knew it was going to end a certain way.
yeah,
But I guess a part of me is, and some people were very upset that Lori wasn't that much in it. And I was like, again, this leading into the third one. Of course, she wasn't going to be completely
right,
in. But I kind of didn't like the way that whole mob scene was just kind of not random, but well, in a way, random, because it was like, okay, we're all going too far. But as I was saying to some friends of mine, when you think about a story like Michael Myers in a small town, and I grew up in a small town where we had a killer who did kill someone, and we knew who he was. We knew exactly what he looked like. I actually grew up with him. There was Mo
ooh,
Cheaters. So if I ever get bored, Google Mo Cheaters, Union City, Tennessee. And so I also not only I grew up with him, but I grew up with Marlena Childress, a young girl who was kidnapped when she was like 4 or 5.
mm,
And that made it all the way to Unsolved Mysteries, the TV show.
oh wow,
And so I grew up in the 80s and 90s with these two people who are well known in our town and well known outside of our town.
mm.
Um, but
So
anyway,
you kind of like had little flashbacks
yeah,
watching Halloween. It's like you
a
remember this shit like
little
this.
bit, yeah. But the thing is, you would know exactly what that person looks like. And what didn't really fit to me is how, when they were after that other patient that escaped, I thought
Right.
they saw him to a degree, and I'm like, y'all should have known that wasn't Michael
Just
Myers.
the way he's built, like,
Yeah.
Michael is like 6'2". He's
Mhm,
very like somewhat stocky. You
mhm.
know what he wear. He wears that same janitor looking jumpsuit. And y'all thinking it's this short, fat, bald headed dude. Like, really?
Yeah, I
And
was like that. It took me out of the movie a little bit, and also
yeah.
just understanding. It was no connection with Tommy, Lindsay. Like, I feel like, and again, if you're living in a small town, there would be some connection with Tommy and Lindsay with the family,
Well,
or
the only
they went.
connection was um I think the only connection was when he told the story at the bar. That was the only
Mhm.
connection. And um it seems like I think I got a little pissed off too with the whole town going crazy, and then when someone, I think either they accidentally hit Lori in the side where she got stabbed, and that's what pretty much brought her down the whole rest of the movie. That kind of pissed me off too. But what's interesting is I saw her interview last night with Jamie Lee Curtis. She's been doing so much press. I think it was for Variety, and she said there was a moment in the movie that she had to tell them, do not put this part in the movie, where she was supposed to be chasing, I think, Michael in the hospital or running from her or something. She's basically supposed to be in a hospital gown, and she's supposed to be running. She said, if you put Lori in a hospital gown and she's running, she's like, that's not strong. That's weak. She's like, you put Arnold Schwarzenegger in a hospital gown. That's weak. She's like, we need her to be strong. And that's why she said that's why you see her in the bed for the rest of the movie, because she needs to regain her strength and be stronger again. But people are questioning, and I think she is dead. People think Judy is or isn't dead. I think she's dead because the way Michael got her ass in the end, and she's standing out front of the window where her aunt's room was. I think she is dead. But I mean, do you think she's dead, or you think she's gonna come back?
I think she's dead, but I think the thing, and it's funny because you mention it as her aunt, and they don't recognize them as family in this series, which I think they might want to. I would like them to bring that back because it kind of takes away from, well, why is Michael really doing this? Because you have to remember, in the 2018 version, the only reason why he even got up to Lori was because of the second Doctor. That was done by the second Doctor to kind of orchestrate this whole thing. So it really wasn't about him going after Lori. It just happened she got caught in the crosshairs the same way she did in the original movie. She was kind of in the crosshairs of what was happening at that point. So they don't really recognize them as a family, but who knows, they may do that in third. It could surprise us all.
Because in H2O, when Lori, or Carrie as she went by, asked her boyfriend asked her, who is that man? And she said, and I quote, and I know you remember this, Victor, she said, I quote, my brother, Michael. That was the only time they acknowledged that they were brother and sister. But like you said in the original, they were never brother and sister. She was just babysitting some kids and she happened to see Michael, and for some reason Michael has just picked her to just forever kill her because she escaped. And I think, to me, the whole premise of the Halloween franchises, and then we can move on to Horror Story, because I want to save the Scream franchise for last. That's like one of my favorite movies. The whole premise of it is he wants vengeance. He wants to finally get Lori and kill her, because when we saw in Resurrection, she died, she fell off the building, and he was like, okay, she's dead. Okay, I'm done. I can finally rest. I can go home. But then those stupid kids decide to set up shop and do a Halloween streaming in his house. He's like, well, now I got to kill you motherfuckers. Y'all in my house. So in that movie, I was more so rooting for Michael to kill everybody, because like, y'all done came in this man's house. He's just trying to rest.
Yeah. So I know people are probably like, so which ones do I watch? To get everybody kind of up to speed. So with the Halloween overall series, the first 6 or 7, that is one world. Then there's Rob Zombie's that he did 1 and 2. That's his world. And now with the new Blumhouse version, it's the same world, but not. So in the 2018 version, as we were saying, they don't really recognize him as brother and sister yet. And part 2 of the original series did not happen. So that whole hospital scene in part 2, in the 78 or 80 version, I think it's 79 version.
79, yeah.
It does happen at the hospital, which is interesting that Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to be in the gown, because in the original sequel she was. So I understand why she wanted to do that. But overall, I give this movie, I give it a 5, just because of the convoluted pieces in it. But I'm going to hold out and see what the last one really gives us. But I know if I had a chance to do it, I would have focused mostly. I would actually want to focus on why Michael kills. I know people don't. They kind of like the fact that they don't.
Why he kills,
but I want to
who
know.
is he,
Yeah,
or
I want
what
to
is
explore
he?
that.
Yeah, because even her little speech when she said the more he kills, it's like the darker or stronger he becomes. Like it's weird. And they mentioned maybe the curse of the thorn from the third one, and saying that might have something to do with it. But again, like you said, it's a multiverse. Now that's Victor's order. My order to say to watch it, you watch the original, and then you just jump to the sequels that came from 2018 on out. And then the other ones, that's their own sequels, like from 4 to H2O. Those are like their own set of sequels right there.
Yeah, so, yeah, you
Because
can
in
kind of
4
go around and do
and 5,
all that, and
yeah, because 4 and
I
5
agree
is
with
about his niece, and
yeah.
ugh,
It's
yeah.
just so much they've done with this series,
Oh my
but
God, I'm ready for it to be
we'll
over with.
yeah, we will see. Next
We'll
year, I
see.
believe we'll see how it
Yep,
goes.
next year. Next year. Okay. So, next one in our little discussion. Um, oh, come on, there it is. AHS. Now, I give all credit. I bow down to Ryan Murphy, and his partner Brad. They are creative geniuses with this series, because I stumbled onto this one by chance because my mom was watching Horror Story on Netflix, and she's like, "You got to watch this show. It looks pretty good." So I watched it. I was like, "Okay, I'm hooked." I never watched Asylum because I started watching like 1 or 2 episodes. It bored me. I gave up on Asylum. Um, I love. I think everybody can agree Coven is like the number one fan favorite. Um, Freak Show was Hotel was more of like a a gay, sexy vampire type
Mhm.
version. Um, Roanoke was so fucking confusing because it was like they did a show within a show. Um, what's the next one after that?
I think it's Cult. It
Cult.
was Cult
I didn't.
before, yeah.
I didn't do Cult because that was the whole political thing. I'm over that. Um, what was after that one? Help me out here, Victor. What was
Well,
after Cult?
I think it was Apocalypse because that's where we
I
got
did.
her.
I like that. That one was different because it was like so far left from everything.
Mhm.
1984 was, it was cheesy, it was campy, but it still had that horror factor to it, in American Horror Story style. And now this one, and American Horror Stories. Um, I saw part one of the double feature, The Red Tide. I haven't started on the Alien one yet. But before we jump into the main franchise, if you guys have not seen American Horror Stories, those are good. Those episodes are so good because they're individual episodes. They don't link together. You don't have to watch them in order. And who knew Paris Jackson can act? Who knew? And she act like a real bitch. Like, she gave Regina George a run for her money.
Yeah, I believe she was. I mean, I feel like she's born in a superstar family, so it was bound to happen
Natural.
someday.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
natural. It's a natural gift. But so out of all the franchises, well, out of not franchise, but out of all the um what do you want to call it? I guess seasons. Um, which one is like your top? We'll say top three. Like mine is Coven, and then 84, and Murder House. Those are my favorites.
I will say Coven, Murder House, and Asylum, but not Asylum. Apocalypse. Now, Asylum, I did like you. I did not like it the first watch. I went back to look at it, I think a year ago, and now I appreciate it now. It all comes
Mm,
together well.
mm.
Uh, yes, it is a slow burn. It was one of those seasons where you're like, okay, this is before everything was 22 seasons.
Right.
Now everything is kind of shortened down. But yeah, it was a lot, but it all came together. So I
It
would
did.
say those would be my top three, and I will throw in Asylum with that.
I think what's so interesting about this season, well, not this season, the series itself, the whole series, is people. It took a while for everyone to realize there is a certain timeline, and one day I want to binge watch every season, but in the timeline order, not the season order, because the first one is, um I believe it is Asylum, and then Freak Show, and then um oh god, oh 1984, and then it goes on to Murder House and Coven and Roanoke and then Cult and then Apocalypse Now. I think I got them in order like that. But I love how that timeline is, and because it makes the show even more interesting. But what I love about Ryan Murphy is he will reuse the actors to play different characters in every season. And to me, the breakout star throughout the entire franchise, of course, is Sarah Paulson because she's just so amazing. And I remember watching Hotel, that American Crime Story had came out at the same time, and she said she was shooting both at the same time. She would do Hotel at night and Crime Story in the morning. And I think as an actor, that is such discipline because you have to learn two scripts, so many lines. But I think with Crime Story, you had to learn more lines because it's a lot of dialogue and sometimes in the form of monologues. And you have to really find that balance of playing two characters. You're playing a criminal prosecutor and you're playing a dead heroin addict, two
Mhm.
different personalities. So I applaud her for that. Um, I'm I hate not to sound a Debbie Downer, y'all, but I mean, at certain points with great shows, you always wonder, I can't wait to see how it's all gonna finally end. Because in the back of your mind, y'all know this stuff has to end eventually. Even Adele said it in an interview. She's like, I'm not gonna be making music forever. And like any franchise, and I'm sure you can agree, any franchise that's close to end, you can't wait to see what's the next big thing that's going to come after. We had Harry Potter. Okay, what was it coming after that? Twilight. Okay, what's coming after that? Hunger Games, and so forth and so forth and so forth. It's like there's got to be the next big wave that's going to come. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen after Horror Story. When it's all said and done. But
Yeah.
it's something for us to look back on. It's another staple in cinematic history where it's one of those pieces you'll always want to watch around Halloween time because it's in the spooky realm, and it's I think what Ryan Murphy did for FX is what 50 Cent did for Stars.
Oh Lord.
I'm
Well,
sorry. I'm only saying that because I'm hooked on Power. I'm on the final season of Power. I'm close to
I
the end.
despise Power. I cannot. Power to me, it can only be on Stars because they would not have made it any. I mean, no shit. I try to watch it now. I try to watch it.
You
I
gotta
couldn't.
watch it. It's
It
so
was just
good.
like I can't get into Ghost. Ghost was like I think someone made a
No,
clip of when he stares aimlessly at stuff. They just made a clip of how he always does that, and I was like,
that
Omar.
stupid look on his face.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, it took me out. I think
I,
also there was a guy that I almost dated who was looking at bootleg versions. I was like, this is not the life that I deserve. So I think that's why
oh my god.
I stopped
I'm
even
telling you,
doing that.
brother, I'm telling you, you got to give Power a chance. Believe me, I felt the same way because I was like Team Empire. I was not feeling Power,
What
but
was?
now that it's gone off and
Mhm.
I sat down and watched it, I'm telling you, I've been binge watching. Like I have not watched pretty much damn near anything else but Power. I'm telling you, give it a chance. It will blow your mind. The storyline is amazing
I
because
don't know, but
it's not written by 50. It's
I
not.
might come back. Because 50
It's
gets on my nerves, but I
But see,
will.
okay, this will make you feel a little better. 50 Cent did not write it. A black woman wrote this. Okay. He's just executive produced it and he's in it, I think in the second season and second
Yeah,
between the second and fifth season.
yeah,
Because his character does die.
yeah.
But a black woman wrote it, and what it reminds me of is it has that essence of like American Gangster and Hoodlum and Godfather of Harlem, like that type of feel. Very gritty and grungy and edgy, which I love about it because there's so many twists and turns, and a lot of main characters die, but it's how they die and why they die. It's like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. You got to give it a chance. I'm telling you, got to give it a chance. But
Yeah.
um, so Horror Story. Um,
Do you
I'm gonna
like
get back.
the season? Do you like what? this
I
season?
like
Well,
I
part
like
of the
part
season.
one. I like part one. I like Red Tide was different for me because it took me a minute to figure out what these pale people were at first. I'm like, who the fuck are they? Like, what is going on? And then come to find out that it's a pill that either heightens your creativity or it makes you a mindless vampire, which I thought was interesting. But the thing that made it so much better for me, and not to throw the gay card out there, not to throw the LGBT card out there, um, I love that Angelica Houston is in it, and she's a biochemist, but not just any biochemist, a biochemist with a PhD from Harvard. Okay. Because I love when she told, oh boy, she said, motherfucker, I have a PhD from Harvard. She's like, making crack is below my pay grade. That did it for me. Um, it kind of dragged in some episodes because with Lily Rabe's character being pregnant for seems like for 20 damn years. It's like, girl, would you hurry up and give birth already? And that little girl, if she stays on the right track, she's gonna be a breakout star. If she stays on the right path. Because that little girl was something else. Because when she called Ursula a bitch, that I think it's so funny when we hear little kids curse and they sound like adults.
Yeah.
It's just
Uh,
too funny.
I did not like part one. I was bored with it. I just felt like, and maybe because we just had so much Ryan Murphy within the last
Yeah.
year and a half. He had the American Horror Stories. Some were hit or miss, some were okay. And then we had this, and I was like, I think it was just too much for me to where I even cared. Now, the Alien one is somewhat interesting. I haven't really
I haven't
um,
watched that one yet, but I want
I
to see
I
that
would
one.
say that check. It's very interesting. I like the past. There's two parts. There's the past and there's the present. The past
Okay.
is really good. So I would say if you get a chance, kind of take a look at the
But
past.
speaking of Ryan Murphy, have you watched Impeachment yet?
No, again, I have to take a break from Ryan Murphy. No shade,
I
Ryan.
do too.
It's
I do
so
too.
much. He's like,
Yeah.
I call him the white Tyler Perry. So I'm just like,
That's what I said too.
I'm just like at this point, I just need
It's a lot.
yeah, it's a
It's a
lot. And
lot.
I come from a world where one person didn't dominate so much. Now, technically, yes, Aaron Spelling used to dominate, but all
Oh,
his shows were very different.
yeah.
But at the same time, you didn't really. I think they took care of making sure that even though I think he was mostly producing these shows,
Yeah.
they were somewhat different. But right now, with all of these, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So I've said, and I've said it on Twitter, I think we just need a 2-year break from any
Right.
American Horror Story because now other places are doing their own version. Like Shudder is doing um, Slasher, which is actually a very decent series. I will say if y'all get a chance to look at Slasher, go on Shudder or go on Netflix. I think the first 3 seasons of
And
Slasher is there.
is it Shutter or is it AMC? They brought back Creep Show.
Yeah, it's Shudder. Shudder has that
The
creep
Creep Show.
show as
Okay.
well. So you want to go back and look at that.
Mhm.
So there are some, and I would say again, Slasher. I would say this season's Slasher is called Flesh and Blood was a whole lot better than what the first part of American Horror Story is. So if you got
Okay.
Shudder, watch Flesh and Blood. It's diverse, queer. And another thing I was going to do a shout out is the fact that a lot of horror right now is very diverse and queer. So I'm very happy to
Yeah.
see a lot of that. But with American Horror Story, not really into Red Tide. The Alien version is kind of interesting right now. So I would say if you get a chance, do check that part out.
Mhm.
Angelica's in that one as well. So, get a chance to look at that. And also, if you watch Love Victor, um, um, I forgot her name. She was Mia in that series. She's in this one as well. So if you like that character,
And
she's in.
speaking of, queer diversity, even Halloween Kills has a gay couple,
Yeah, it
which
was
was
black
interesting.
people and gay.
Even though they die,
Yeah,
but they were still
well,
in
it was
there.
an equal opportunity, it was equal opportunity slasher. So everybody, black, gay, queer, everybody dies. So
Exactly. Exactly.
everybody died in this one.
I'm gonna have to check out Shutter then. Okay, now for me, little sidebar, y'all. Um, everything I watch now is streamed. Like even my cable is streaming. So anything I watch it's on an app now, which I think is so. Sometimes I sit back and just think about this a lot. It's amazing how we have television has evolved now, where we're all watching streaming apps now because that's the way to go now. With Shutter, how much does it cost for Shutter?
I think it's like $4 or $5 a month. Like it's not even
Okay,
that much. And
okay,
I got it through a deal, so maybe it might be a little bit more, but I got it at the time where it was like $4 or $5.
okay.
But it's worth it. You know, it has a lot of movies, a lot of things you can look at.
Are you able to have multiple profiles?
I'm not sure. You might can have multiple profiles.
Okay, well, I'm gonna find out and I'm gonna get back to this. If it is, can I jump on your Shutter? What I'm saying, save me some money.
Yes,
I do that
it's
for my
fun.
friends, and so
Yeah.
you know, I'm telling you, because like even Netflix, my boyfriend has a link to my Netflix. My mom, my homegirl. I think even my stars. My homegirl has my stars. A few people have access to Disney Plus with me. So it's like any app that has multiple profiles, and I'm cool with my inner circle. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all can jump on this then and save y'all some money. You know what I'm saying? Because I know they're not gonna fuck me over. Um, but anyway, back to the main thing.
Yeah.
So we know Scream 5 will Scream. I call it Scream 5. It's coming out next year. I'm so glad they're putting it out in January at the top of the year, so we don't have to wait till Halloween, like Halloween, to come out. But before we jump into Scream 5, let's go back to well, damn, I thought I got a picture of Scream 1, but we'll use the same one. So it's the same fucking title. Let's jump from the beginning though. The first Scream. Oh my god. Scream 1 will always be my favorite because it set the tone. And because there will never be another Tatum. Tatum is my favorite character in that whole movie, in the entire series, because Tatum was the homegirl you wanted. And um, I thought that it was so different at the time. It brought back the slasher genre because we haven't seen it since Halloween or Jason. Um, and to find out that Drew Barrymore was actually supposed to play Sydney at first, I'm glad it worked. It didn't go that way, and it kind of reintroduced Drew to the world in some aspect because I think before Scream, she had did like the Poison Ivy movies, and she had kind of just got away from Hollywood for a minute. But and shout out to the great Wes Craven for bringing this movie to life because he gave us Freddy and he gave us Scream. And I think to me, it really showed that watch it. I don't know, it's so much. Like when you watch Scream, you look at horror movies differently because you know the rules and you know what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm more of like Tatum with the attitude, but I would have the instincts like Sydney. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, what's your take on the first Scream? Because we're gonna do it in order. We're gonna dissect these in order.
Um,
What's your take on the first one?
the first one was really good. It's funny to um, we've here in Los Angeles we've celebrated 25th anniversary of Scream, and it's so weird to think about it. It's 25 years ago because I was in
Right.
college.
I think I would. Let me
25
see. I'm
years
gonna do
ago.
the math while you're talking. I'm gonna do the math.
So it came out it came out in December. I think it came out early December,
1996.
and yeah, and so I remember we watched it. It was
Oof.
interesting because a friend of mine didn't like scary movies. He went to see The Preacher's Wife instead. So the rest
Oh
of us
wow.
we were watching Scream while he was in Preacher's Wife.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but anyway, it was really good. I remember it was just exciting because it was like something new, something totally different than what we were used to, and it
Yeah.
did kick off the slasher movies again for the '90s because it was gone.
Wow.
It really wasn't having any type of
Yeah.
until that. I mean, you think about it, Scream kicked off what we had, like Halloween H2O came out because of what Scream did.
Exactly.
So it was
Exactly.
really nice
Exactly.
to kind of see that. It was a fun movie, great movie
Yeah.
at the time. I look at it, occasionally, and so
Oh, me too.
I really enjoyed it. And we've always talked about how Steve Elrich, I can never say his name right, but
Oh, Skeet Ulrich, yeah.
yeah, how he had a chokehold on many of us because we were like looking at this little skinny white boy is like he's kind of cute even though he's deadly, and
Bad boy.
well, yeah, he was the bad boy. We've always thought of him as well as his character. Well, his character wasn't also Stu as kind of that weird gay couple that we don't talk about. But it's kind of neat to see what they had planned, what they was planning to do. But then as we go into the series, how it really originated. So
Now,
I've always loved Scream, the first Scream.
I wanna test your knowledge here really quick. I want to do a little Scream trivia with you. Do you
Okay.
remember the rules that Randy said towards the end of the movie when they were all at um oh my God, what is his name? What's Matthew Lillard's character's
That was
name?
Stu. It was at Stu's party.
Stu. Yeah, Stu's part. Do you remember the rules in order?
Well, not in order. I just think the rules were,
Okay, well,
basically
not in order then. I won't take points for that. Okay, so yeah, give me.
like
Do you remember
like
the?
you
Okay,
yeah, you're supposed to say you never say you will be back.
okay,
You you have to be a virgin because if you have sex, you're gonna die.
okay.
Um, and I can't remember if there was a couple of others, but I just know those two. Um,
So it was. Don't ever say you'll be back because you'll never be back. Um, you can never have sex. They said sex equals death. But then the number one rule was you can't drink because he said it's a sin. It's a sin factor to the sex
yeah,
rule. And I think the unspoken rule was when Sydney said when she first gets the call from the killer, um, was there's always some dumb blonde running up the stairs when she should be running out the front door. Now she was a little bit hypocrite because she did go up the stairs, but she only went up the stairs because she couldn't unlock that front door.
mhm,
But I think when you watch it now, because I did the math, so I was 8 years old when the first one came out, and I never saw the first one. I saw the second one, and it scared me. And then as I got older, then I watched the first one, and then the second one, and then I saw the third one. I was in fifth grade, and I saw that in the movies. Um, the first one to me, it's kind of comical when you look at it now because Tatum's cracking on Dewey, which was so damn funny. The punch heard around the world when Sydney punched the shit out of Gail and left her a nice bruise. Um, and then one of my favorite moments was Sydney picked her fucking nose on the camera. That was so gross. And I think overall with the Scream movies, what I do love about it is it keeps you guessing who the killer is because you don't know who the killer is. And even in the first one, you look at it now, you still won't know. Well, I think you do. In certain parts, when Stu was the killer and when Billy was the killer. Because I think Stu no, I think Billy killed Casey. Um and then he went to Sydney's house. Um Billy killed no, Stu killed Tatum because Billy was upstairs with Sydney. Um oh God, who else died in that movie?
oh, the
It's hard
principal.
to I don't know who killed the principal. I can't say who killed him. That was a tough one. That was a
Yeah,
tough one, you know. And even then, with not knowing who the killer is, I think they did a great job when we saw Scream 2, um, Billy's mom, Mrs. Loomis, and the wisecrack Gail made on her somehow. It can't be. I seen pictures said no. This is 80 pounds and a lot of work later.
yeah,
I said, "Fuck." I think
yeah.
that one. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Scream Two was really fun. I was really influenced by Scream Two. That came out
Yeah.
also while I was in college. I was about to graduate, and so when that came out, Gail had the red streaks. I had a kind of a bob back then, and so we tried to dye. I wanted the red streaks. We tried to dye. It came out gold, but it worked. The gold worked with me, but it was just that at one point it was copper, and then it came out this one straight gold. But it was, that movie was really good. I remember we all went to I remember us going to the theater, and just like the movie, our theater was just hype. Everybody was hype. Everybody was really excited. One of my friends, he brought alcohol. He was literally getting drunk next to me. We were just having a good time because it came, like I was saying, it came out when we was in college. I was in a small college town, so the theater wasn't like the ones we have here in Los Angeles, but it was like pretty much everybody was there. It was a big deal. And when we saw how it began, we're all like, okay, they're high too. But when, when Jada's character was murdered, somebody actually, I remember some people did get scared because they were like, that could literally happen here.
It really can. It can.
And you never know.
The cool thing about Scream 2 was it introduced almost the movie franchise within a movie franchise, introduced the Stab franchise. And like it inspired me as well. It heightened my love for movies even more, not just for horror, but for all movies, because I love how they were having a deep theological discussion about movies. Like they went in depth about, the Alien franchise, and the famous line Sigourney Weaver said, get away from her, you bitch. And the whole Godfather, and how Mickey tried to play saying how Godfather is life imitating art, imitating life. And it was damn, I like how my light just went out. Okay. Oh, and again, okay. See, this should only happen around Halloween time.
You got the Conjuring going on in your place.
Ciao. And those movies are boring. Side note, Conjuring is boring. I saw Devil Made Me Do It. I literally fell asleep and then woke up at the very end. But no. What I loved about Scream 2 was it actually showed that one black person, even though three black people died, one actually lived. Dwayne, the cameraman, he lived because he went away and he came back at the end. But I loved how crazy Mickey was, and they really they stepped the game up in Scream 2, especially when Sydney was rehearsing in her play and she saw the killer there, and he just kept ducking in and out, so you never really saw him. It made you think, like, was he there? Was he really there? Was it all in her mind? And it introduced a lot of actors that are either not really acting as much anymore, who did become big name stars. Rebecca Gayheart, Elise Neal, Dwayne Martin, Lee Schreiber, so many people.
Ellen's wife.
She was Rebecca Gayheart's friend.
Yeah.
In the sorority. Yeah.
And Michelle Gellar, from Buffy, she was in that.
And Selma Blair was the girl on the phone with her.
Yeah.
In a little uncredited scene. I think Cece's death, she could have lived. Cece could have lived.
Yeah.
And to me, Cece could have lived. She didn't have to be thrown off the damn balcony, even though that was so cool. I loved, one of my favorite parts in Scream 2 was, I tell y'all, I've seen this franchise over and over again. I know damn near every line. I loved when the car had crashed, when Sydney and Haley were in the car, and they got out the car and they were about to run, and Sydney did the most stupid thing throughout the whole franchise. Only dumb girl moment, talking about, I want to see who it is. And Haley was like, no, girl, stupid people stay. Smart people run. We're smart people. We should run. And I'm like, yes, girl, you should run. And when she went and said, he's not there, she's like, what? And then all of a sudden, bam, she got stabbed. I said, fuck. I'm like, girl, you should have ran. I'm like, fuck your white ass. I'm gone, bitch.
Yeah, a lot of us were a little disappointed. I remember I was like, I wanted her to live. But I was like, somebody's going to die. But as I was saying earlier, I would have loved to have seen what the original version would have been if Haley was.
Yeah,
Um,
that would have been cool because I think it would have been three killers instead of two because it would have been Mickey, Mrs. Loomis, and Haley.
no,
Because you
actually,
can't.
they wasn't going to bring in She was the last minute. I think Mrs. Loomis was the last minute change because of the leak. It was
Wow.
supposed to. What I was told, it was supposed to be what's his name, and Haley,
Mickey.
Mickey and Haley.
Oh, but you know what? When they had Mrs. Loomis, and I love, oh my God, I can't think of her name. That played Mrs. Loomis.
Metcalf,
She
yeah,
was,
Metcalf is her last name. I can't remember
yeah,
her.
Lori Metcalf. I love her because it was a different shift from her because all we known her for was Roseanne, and for
Mhm.
her to do something dark and to not suspect her character at all because she was Debbie Salt, but and then they flip it at the end saying, and Sydney immediately was the only one who knew who she really was,
Mhm.
and probably Dewey if he wasn't stabbed and probably lay out in the video room, even though he didn't die, even though we thought he died, but he didn't die.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
thought that was a nice setup too because it was like, again, the stakes are high in the sequel. So
yeah,
we were like, oh, I guess he will because we lost Randy. Why not?
right.
Do
Tragically,
yeah.
tragically, we lost Randy. But I love how when they make you think a character is dead, they play that dramatic music that Scream is known for, and then
Yeah.
that was it. You know. So yeah, Scream 2, yeah, was good. Um, and then we had uh the cheesiest one throughout the whole franchise. The cheesiest one. The cheesiest. Um, because again, it showed the stab movie franchises, and we were introduced to new people and some movie stars and some TV stars as well. Deion Richmond, who we knew from Cosby Show as Bud, and Tamara's boyfriend on Sister Sister. But then this movie introduced me to Parker Posey, who I love because she was so annoying as Gail
Mhm.
because she was annoying to Gail, but
Mhm.
they became like thick as thieves towards the end because they knew they had to work together. But um, I like that they paid homage to Randy. We got to see him video for him, but we got to see him because he knew he was gonna die. They could have picked somebody else to play his sister. That poor child, she's so ugly. Oh my god.
No, I
Ugh.
actually like I love Heather. I love Heather as an actress, and I would say that it was nice to see her in that role. But what we'll talk about a little bit. What I do like is we know that somewhere in Randy's family there was some cultural mixing because there will be, I think one of his nieces, who is half black, who will be in this movie. So that's going to be
Oh,
kind of interesting to see that.
okay.
I did like. I go back. I At first I watched three. I didn't really like it. I saw three in grad school,
Hmm.
but then afterwards I was like, I really appreciate it because I like the fact that it was taking place in. And it's funny because now I live in LA and it all
Right.
makes
It
sense
took
now.
place in Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did
How did
enjoy. I did
how did you
enjoy.
feel? Not to cut you off. How did you feel about having Cotton be the first one to be killed? Well, the second one to be killed in the movie.
It made sense because this because of the fact that they just kind of erasing everything they created. It was almost like this is kind of we're going to go back and kind of finish it all off, like get rid of
Yeah.
everybody who was involved. And so
And it
that
eliminated him as a factor.
yeah, but it was
Because
also
it's like,
interesting to see how it tied up, how it was a family thing. If you think about a
yeah,
lot of the horror movies that we do watch, always a family thing. Freddy was a
yeah.
family thing.
Hmm.
Where his daughter
Jason.
involved. Jason is a family issue. Halloween is a family issue. So it was kind
Candyman is a family issue.
of Candyman's a family issue. So it's kind of interesting to see Scream do that, but I feel like it was doing that to pay respects to the horror movies in general.
And you know what? Scream 3 really paid homage to a lot of Hollywood royalty in a way
Mhm.
because we got to see the late Carrie Fisher. playing a movie exec who works down in the basement where nobody goes. And um, I thought that was so awesome. We were introduced to he's known as Dr. McDreamy, playing a cop.
Mhm.
Um, uh, um, Lance Herkinson, who we know from the Alien franchise,
Mhm.
um, um, again, Parker Posey, who we knew from Best in Show and so many other movies. And then for them to throw a wild card in there to show the killer is Sydney's half brother, which is something no one expected because her father never talked about, his wife's other life.
Mhm.
And all we knew that was she slept around with Billy's dad, and that's why Billy wanted to kill Sydney because she feels like her mom broke up his family. But to come to it kind of made it full circle to me because um uh what was his name?
Mhm.
Roman told Sydney, I helped Billy try to kill you. I gave him a few pointers. I did this, I did that. All he knew was a little guidance. And he was on his way. He's like, and he got stewed because you need someone to friend. You need someone to be the fall guy. And again, they made it seem like Sydney was dead. They played that dramatic music and he stabbed her, but the bitch had on a Kevlar vest, which was smart. Um, and I love the ending when uh Dewey is just shooting him and shooting him and shooting him. He's got that Kevlar vest, and Sydney's like, she's like, head, Dewey. He's like, what? Head. It's like, do you not remember what Randy said? You gotta crowd Jiggly's head, decapitate him, or blow him up.
Mhm.
I thought it was cool. Yeah, it was to me, they could have stopped at 3 and left it alone. They really could have.
Yeah. Four, jumping on four, um, you
Yeah,
know, it was my least favorite of all of them.
same,
But
same.
it was interesting because it came out in a time where social media was becoming huge. And
Hmm.
it almost makes sense to see what somebody would do something like that just to get the likes or just to be seen or what
Yeah,
have you. It came
and
out
it
it came out in a time where all that was growing and it makes sense now.
and it helped birth a lot of movies like that. Like, what's the movie with Emma Roberts? Is it it's like a Truth or Dare movie or something like that.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then, the other movie called Fun House and so many other horror movies that were like that. Um and even like Hostel Part 2 in a way when people were bidding online. So I
Mhm.
mean, yes, Scream 4 was at least my favorite as well because it felt like it's trying to rebirth the first one to a new generation of kids because the plot line was almost the same as the first one. And it was just like, okay, this is going nowhere. I never really liked Scream 4. I'm gonna try to watch it again because what I like to do when sequels coming out of other movies, I will sit and rewatch the originals first to get myself ready for the new one. So I'm gonna watch Scream 1 through 4 to get ready for Scream 5.
Mhm.
But yeah, Scream 4, it was they could have kept that one.
Mhm.
And um so going back to now, we have Scream or Scream 5.
Mhm.
Um, I'll let you go first, and then we can wrap this up. What is
Mhm.
your expectations for Scream 5? Because we don't know the plot, we don't know any. Like they are so hush hush on this one.
Yeah, even the trailer is misleading, and they even said that they said the trailer will be is misleading to what the real story is, and so it looks very interesting. I love the line where Sydney was like, "I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course, I have a gun." Because if you go back and look at, and I think some of us was posted it there, you could post every clip of her holding a gun in every movie series. She's had a gun in every movie,
Mhm.
and so that's good. But it's funny also because now this generation has been introduced to drama and drama in the sense that you know, like even Jamie Lee Curtis talk about like this whole like the Halloween franchise was about drama. This is about
No.
movies.
Halloween was about trauma.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Drama.
Trauma.
Um,
Yeah, trauma. Yeah.
and so this is also that because you know, imagine for 25 years, this has been your life.
Yes.
That has been her life
Running
for
from
25 years.
running from different killers, people
Yeah.
trying to kill you, not knowing why they want to kill you. They want to kill you for stupid reasons,
Mhm.
and leaving Woodsboro and going into Northern California, going into
Mhm.
hiding, um, even lying to your job about who you are, you
Mhm.
know. Um, it's okay. And so my thoughts for Scream 5 is I'm just ready to see what's going to happen. I'm ready to see what the storyline is going to be. I can't wait to see who the killer is and why, So, I mean, I'm excited. But anyway, I just got the word. I got to go. But Victor, always a pleasure. We're gonna do this again when Scream 5 comes out, so we could give our review on that one. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, and I will see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.